Welcome to the Know Your Fundamentals podcast, the show designed to help professional moms like you empower your well-being, strengthen family bonds, and excel in your career while thriving your way. I'm your host, Kelly Berthold, a fellow professional mom, licensed clinical social worker, wellness educator, advocate, and coach. And I created this podcast to provide a space where we can connect foundational principles of well-being with real-life, actionable insights that help us feel more connected to ourselves and others. If you're juggling life, family, and career while seeking balance and authentic connection, this podcast is for you. Each episode, we'll hear from our neighbors, uncover the extraordinary in ordinary life, find patterns that help us recognize opportunities for well-being, and get practical, fundamental tips to thrive in your wellness, relationships, parenting, and professional life. You're the expert on you, and I'm here to help you thrive your way. I'm so glad that you're here. Let's jump in. Hi, welcome today to the Know Your Fundamentals podcast. Today we have Sarah Kuchta, who is an MSED in education and childhood literacy, founder and CEO of Nittany Nannies, a premier nanny and babysitting agency based in State College, PA. In this episode, Sarah will share her journey of building Nittany Nannies to connect families with dependable sitters, all while balancing parenthood, mental well-being, and entrepreneurship. She'll discuss how finding reliable childcare can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. So welcome, Sarah.
Hi, Kelly. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for coming on. So in the past year or so, you've been developing Nittany Nannies. And, this has been like an entrepreneurial journey, as I just know you, balancing kids and family. And, even with your education, there's something I think in working with kids and being a part of families that's important to you. So do you mind sharing a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, of course. So yes, about a year ago, I started Nittany Nannies. Like you mentioned, we're the local nanny agency. We're the one and only babysitting and nanny service in Center County and all surrounding counties. And we connect families with reliable and trustworthy babysitters. My husband and I have been in State College for about 10 years, well, almost 11 years actually. And we have 5 kids together. Our oldest is 10, all the way down to, we have 2-year-old twins. So we saw firsthand how hard it was to find reliable childcare in this area. So that's why I started Nittany Nannies to help bridge that gap.
Yeah, that's great. So in your own experience of developing Nittany Nannies, where was it that, attempting to get into that entrepreneurial journey when you had 2 twin, right? How old were they when you decided you were going to start embarking in, the work of establishing childcare when you yourself were probably also needing some support?
Yeah. So they were 9 months old when I joined the Launchbox, which is how Kelly and I know each other. So yeah, they were 9 months old. After I taught elementary school for a long time, for almost 12 years. And after the twins came by, I was kind of trying to figure out the next thing. I knew I didn't want to go back into teaching. I wanted something flexible. And this was just a huge need that was just constantly on my mind. The twins had a pretty extensive NICU stay. They were 2 months early. So we were in Hershey for 2 months and, I had a lot of time to think about what I was going to do after they came home. And in that process, I was searching for nannies for ourselves. So as I said, we have 3 older kids and bringing home newborn preemie twins, I thought I need some sort of help. And I found that there was no agency in State College. There was no babysitting service at all. And that's kind of when the light bulb went off. And I thought, okay, if I don't create something like this, somebody else will. So that's kind of how the idea evolved from how I did start this.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about where you're from and were you familiar with any of those services in other locations?
Yeah. So I'm from Erie, Pennsylvania. Lived there my whole life. And I was a babysitter and a nanny growing up. So from high school all the way through grad school, I babysat and nannied. So I knew that there were nanny agencies out there. I actually knew a few au pairs in my life. So I knew that there was something like that. But again, there was nothing like that here. It's not as popular in this area. So that's how I kind of heard about it.
Yeah. So even just in your own experience, kind of growing up, nannying, babysitting, and understanding that those being able to experience something that it exists. It's like, I know that this is a thing. And if I know because I've experienced it, I'm able to recognize if it's not existing somewhere else. So we don't know things that we don't know. And so being able to actually have the experience of recognize there's a need for something because you knew what could exist.
Yep.
So taking us back even just to like your experience, maybe even babysitting or childhood education, where is it that you became interested in supporting families and supporting kids? It sounds like there's like a mix in there of interest for you.
Yeah, just a true joy of being around kids. I'm a middle child of, I have an older sister and a younger sister. So as a middle child, I kind of took on, taking care of my younger sibling and just liking to be around kids. As I moved on to student teaching, I just found this joy in education. And I mentioned that I didn't think I wanted to go back into teaching, but I did want some sort of connection with children and educating and being with parents and immersing myself in that type of culture. So I think just being around kids, loving kids. I mean, obviously I have 5 kids of myself, so I enjoy children, but I think that's where it stems from.
Yeah. Where do you think your education even and your experience working with kids helps you do this, the Nittany Nannies better? How does that help you vet through applicants? How does that help you look for individuals that, are going to be like best suited to helping the families that you're serving?
Yeah. So I really hone in on the education majors at Penn State. I go to the School of Education, pass out my flyers because I know those type of students are amazing sitters. They have they have a joy of working with kids. That they have all their clearances and they genuinely like, to be with children and, liking to create these relationships with families. So yeah, I think that's kind of, how I just like the education students are really like, if I see someone applies to be a sitter when they're education, I'm like, oh, I know you're going to be good because you have that compassionate heart. You like the kids. You generally like what you're doing and they have that flexibility as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, that maybe the benefit too of having Nittany Nannies in a collegiate town like Penn State is that that the individuals that are applying, you're actively seeking out those who maybe have social emotional learning backgrounds and they understand even like some of the skill set of communication with young minds across different age ranges. And how is it that people are feeling safe and what's beneficial to do and not to do? So you don't have to necessarily provide all this training because you understand what they're getting from, a major international university when it comes to education.
Yeah. And we have, not just education students, we have a bunch of med students that, babysit when they have, evenings off. We have a retired nurse. We have teachers that help. So it's all walks of life, what really makes it great. And also, helps the parents feel more comfortable that, the sitters are fully vetted. They have this experience. And background.
Yeah, absolutely. Where is it that when you're thinking about like your day to day and the growth of Nittany Nannies, where is it that you find you get a lot of enjoyment out of the process? Like being an entrepreneur is a lot of work. It's not necessarily the most fun experience and just the grind. So what are the things that you come back to that are just very fulfilling for you in the work that you're doing?
Yeah. The first thing I think of is the families that reach out. I can't tell you many times a family has reached out and says, I've never used a sitter before. I've never left my kid with someone other than my mom, or I just moved to the area and we don't know anyone. And when they use the service and have a great experience, that is an amazing feeling because they stepped out of their comfort zone as first-time parents or new to the area and trusted us and had a great experience. I mean, that's why I'm doing it. Finding reliable childcare can feel super overwhelming and it doesn't have to be, that's why we come in, I vet all the sitters. I make sure, they have the experience. A lot of them watch my own children. So I can kind of observe how they are with kids of all ages and how they interact with the parents too. Are they asking questions? They feel interested. So yeah.
Yeah. So thinking about, attempting to support a family that might be hesitant in connecting. So I'm sure that like there's individuals that are like putting feelers out there of like, hey, can I get more information first just so I can like swish it around a little bit and get like a taste for it? How did those conversations generally go if you're talking to especially parents right now in this conversation that have not had childcare beyond maybe themselves or an immediate family member. And I'm sure that you see that even more frequently since the pandemic, like all these
Definitely.
children. I know my child is one of those, like, I'm not going with anybody else. With you, I'm going to be with you. It's like, well, let's see. So,
Yeah.
do you get a lot of parents that are, like, hey, I just want to like feel this out and hear what you have to say? What are the things that you say to those parents?
Yeah, definitely. So I offer free consultation. So any family that calls questions, I'm there to support them and answer anything that they need. I also show them, so we have a portal that makes it really easy for families they get a username and password, and they're able to see the sitter's profile. So, there's a picture of them, there's their experiences listed, even their references are listed. So parents have access to that. We also have an app so they can look at the candidates on there. But I tell them, put trust in us. We're doing all the work for you. I guarantee that you will, go on this date night or go to this appointment and the kids will be back. You'll come back and the kids will be happy, well taken care of. Rest assured, we have it all taken care of. So I do have a lot of those conversations. Like I said, a lot of families have never used a sitter, and it just feels good that they're putting in that trust in us, this new company in town. And so it's a great feeling.
Yeah. When you're talking to like these family members too, I think the biggest thing is like those first 5 or 10 minutes that they're away. And also I know for my like own child, if we are leaving, it is big emotions, like desperation, as if like we're going to be getting on a boat and going across like transatlantic, right? So it's like, this is goodbye forever. It's like, no, we're really not, crossing the Atlantic right now. And at the same time, it feels that way.
Yeah.
So how do you support like your babysitters and your nannies and like helping those initial, I'm sure like those initial appointments, the very first one, right? The very first babysitting is like the biggest kind of hurdle, right?
Yeah.
How do you support your babysitters and your nannies in supporting those first, interactions and also those first departures?
Yes. Well, first, my 2-year-olds are doing the same thing. It's like, anytime I can't even go to the kitchen without them screaming their head off about me leaving. So completely understand that. But so there's a few things. So all of our sitters have experienced childcare in one way or another. So that's kind of a given that's going to happen, especially with a new sitter. We just started this thing called the babysitter bags, where each sitter comes to your house with a bag full of activities, coloring books, crayons, little fidgets, just things that will distract them. Each sitter kind of personalizes their bags as well, but that's huge. So when they come in and the kids see that, this is a safe person and they have activities, great. So parents can leave. I also encourage sitters to send a picture of the kids within the first 20 minutes of them being there, just to show that they're okay, everyone's in good hands, enjoy your night out or whatever they're doing. And I think that puts minds at ease as well.
Right. So it's not just like I'm embarking into the unknown. I don't know what I'm going to be coming back to. It's, 20 minutes has passed. Maybe there's a little pink puffy face still. And at the same time, like maybe they're now interactive and they're playing. And I don't know how frequently is there a statistic of the percentage of photos that still have like a child like mid-ball, like grasping at the door.
Okay.
Yeah. So you don't have too many instances of that. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah. I think it gets taken care of pretty easily or pretty quickly. And they all kind of expect that, like if they're new to the family. But yeah, overall goes pretty smoothly.
Right. So the babysitters or the nannies, their understanding of those initial interactions. And I think these conversations, although they may feel very, normal, as in we all know that the separation anxiety, especially with toddlers, really like 6 even and under, they will experience some form of separation anxiety. And so separation anxiety is very normal. It's a it's actually a mammalian biological trait that we all have, right? And it's because if this was 2,000 years ago or 5,000 years ago and you were just a little baby or you were, a little any type of mammal, you need parental or primary caretaker interaction to survive. And so literally the body goes, if this primary caretaker is no longer present, I could die. I could be at, just vulnerable to the elements and I'll freeze to death. I'll starve. Our biology is wired to like have that freak out because it's saying, I need you to stay close. So those interactions can be really, really challenging. And I know for me, even though like I know all this science and I know how our bodies work, I also understand that like as a mother, my own biology is saying, maybe I shouldn't do this thing because it feels so wrong. And at the same time, logically, it's like, it's okay. You need this self-care.
Exactly.
You need to get this break away. It's okay for you to take care of yourself. But the body is so strongly pulling sometimes for just maintaining those mammalian survival mechanisms.
Yeah.
So if you're a mom out there and you're experiencing these things and your child is experiencing these things, it's okay to notice and normalize what's happening in your body and to also normalize what's happening with our kids. Because sometimes I think what happens is, and I don't know, Sarah, if maybe you've seen this maybe too, is that parents feel a moment of like external judgment from other people as if it's not okay that my child is experiencing this. And then we accidentally shame our child for having that experience or having that behavior. And what they really need is like, I understand. So we can connect and kind of focus more on validating the experience, saying that they're safe, and still transitioning out.
For sure.
So we don't have to deny, and we don't also have to like feel embarrassment from the situation because again, it's biologically normal. And at the same time, as long as we know that, and we feel like that situation is safe, that the caretaker is safe, that we feel more strongly that we're getting services that are vetted and they know what they're doing there. That helps bring our safety dial like a little bit more up. So we feel more confident in that separation and maybe even not over lingering during that separation. So we can just allow for that exposure opportunity.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely. Yeah, it's a good reminder because your first reaction to that is, you're fine, I'll be back. But, as a 2-year-old, you're leaving, you're never coming back. Like you are gone forever.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that is something that, is a good reminder for me as well, just because it's like, that's my first reaction. You're fine, I'll be back. But, they don't think they're fine.
Yeah. So and it can be both, right? So we can recognize that, and a lot of us have grown up too with, it's fine, right? The accidental invalidation of, I'm here, but you just got to get over it. It's okay. I'm going to be back in 20 minutes. It's like, they have no idea what 20 minutes means. It's like, that could be 20 years. Again, you're setting sail across the Atlantic.
Yeah.
So in any of those circumstances, I'm just taking like this moment to validate the parent, right? Hey, it's okay that you feel that way. It's okay that your kids feel that way. And awareness of what they're experiencing, acceptance of whatever that experience is for yourself and the child, and still making a choice. Like, this choice is still, if I am scanning through all the facts, it's still safe. As long as it's still safe, it's an okay opportunity for exposure. And they will learn in that exposure experience that when you come back, their brain will learn that you do actually return. And even when we play peekaboo, that's the whole purpose of like a peekaboo game. It's like, it's gone and it's back. It's gone and it's back. So we're teaching the brain and we're teaching the body that it can be learning skills even in some of this separation. So they can learn social skills outside of the parent. They can learn social skills within themselves. They can connect with another individual. They can interact and play and be understood and validated by another individual. Yep. And so there's even, I think, like these social benefits for children in the babysitting experiences, especially if they're not getting daycare. Like, how is it that they get to socialize with other people when we don't necessarily have villages anymore?
Right. And they're getting another adult that they can trust and be comfortable with. And yeah, that's very good.
Yeah. So thinking a little bit of like along those lines, how are you when we think about like parents and taking care of their own well-being? Because I know that's something that you wanted to like talk about and for your podcast. Where is it that you find that your services and even just babysitting and nannying services in the world that we live in today, and maybe just in this community, although our community is like a microcosm of everywhere else. So it's not like, we're in a bubble. It's like you can see patterns everywhere. Where is it that you find that you're providing a service that's really needed for the social and emotional well-being of families?
Yeah. So kind of to your point, when you were talking earlier about how when your kid throws out a meltdown, you think, never mind, I don't have to go anymore. This is fine. But I always try to, especially with first-time parents, encourage them that, self-care is not selfish. you need a break, especially when you have these little kids that need you every moment, that becomes your identity, and trusting Nittany Nannies or any nanny agency to come in and help you so you can get time by yourself. So twice a week, I have a Nittany Nanny come in myself. I don't always go and work. So a lot of times I prioritize my mental health, whether it's going for a solo walk or getting a cup of coffee with a friend or getting my nails done, whatever it might be. I just always feel like I can give more to my kids when I have that time. And that is something that I always point out to families. Like I mentioned, like you can, leave them for a couple hours and I guarantee you'll come back happier and more present parent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the children also are gaining something in that experience too. Mm-hmm. So it's not that they are without, it's that they are gaining something that is just a varied experience, right? With someone else, and they get enjoyment from that too and benefit from that too.
For sure.
So where is it that, like, even when we think about like self-sacrifice and the experience of motherhood, it just feels like it is a constant sacrifice. Do you find that, whether it's in your own experience or the experience working with or talking with your friends or individuals that are getting involved in like nannying, do you find like these parents are able to kind of communicate back to you, whether like maybe even testimonials of, wow, I didn't necessarily know how much I needed that until I got it. And I didn't know what that experience, it felt like dread going into the experience. And I walked out like, wow, like this is not something I even thought it was going to feel positive, but like it was transformative just having that space.
Yeah.
Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, I see that a lot. So every family fills out a review after the service, review about their sitter and a review about their experience. And so many families have said that. I was hesitant to use it for myself. I didn't have an appointment to go to. I'm doing this, I'm getting my hair done or something like that. We see that a lot in the reviews. And then families, we have a lot of families. So we have a membership model. So a lot of families, parents, stay-at-home parents because that one time that they used us to do whatever they wanted to do, they made it now an every Wednesday thing. I want a sitter every Wednesday to do my own thing. So we see that a lot. I would say almost every review that comes in will say, I'm so glad I used this, you were right, or things like that.
Yeah. So reassurance helps. And it's not necessarily until they just kind of go through the experience themselves and they come out through the other side that they get some of that perspective.
Yeah.
So I think it's also just beneficial for like if you're a working mom or you're a parent in general and you're recognizing that like, okay, I understand this and I still don't know how I'm emotionally going to get myself to go and do it. Know that the apprehension is always the worst part of any event. The anxiety that we feel before doing something is, the biggest hurdle. So getting over that hill, then leaving. And after that, like we start kind of noticing stress goes down and then we can adapt to whatever that new experience is that we're trying, including if it's just something like self-care without your child. So all of that's completely normal if you're feeling any of that anxiety or apprehension or even insecurity and doubt of trying something like this.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So are there other elements regarding like social wellness or mental health or even just other areas regarding like your business that you feel it could be helpful to shed light on?
Just the biggest thing I think is, having that time to yourself or with your spouse or partner, making time for that is huge and should be a priority. And I know for a lot of families it's not, but it could be worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, maybe just speaking to that too a little bit, that we often end up being really exhausted. So like parental mental health it's a pretty big crisis, not just nationally, but internationally as well. And it comes to the expectation, even in a lot of Western cultures, that like you have to be doing all these things all the time to be deemed socially acceptable because I do this and I pick up that and my kids are in all these activities until 10:30 at night. And then we get up at 7:30 and get on the bus by 7:15 and we do it all the next day. Mm-hmm. And it's all this running and these responsibilities and these social expectations that are just running us exhausted. And what ends up being kind of thrown out the door is the things that actually make life meaningful, which is social connection. So am I doing all these things? And are all the things that I'm doing actually helping me feel more connected to myself and making life meaningful? And are they helping me feel more connected to my partner or my spouse or my children? Or are we all now just like, these guinea pigs in a wheel that are just like running, and we're creating the next generation of just guinea pigs that are going onto another wheel? When we take a step back to say, like, these services are social services. They're social opportunities to feel more connected to our kids, to feel more connected with our partners and our spouse and our friends and our peers. So yes, we can bring in children to have some of these interactions, and that is great. We model, like, when we have our friends around and we let the kids play and we just can have these social interactions. Those are really, really important for modeling to children. And also, if we don't want our children necessarily feeling like they have to, when they're a parent or a mother one day, do we want them to have the same level of self-sacrifice?
Right.
Do we want them to forget themselves as people and that they should just be doing the next thing? And should just be keeping up with the house and just be like running to whatever the next position is in their job because that's just what people do? Or do we want them to build social skills and recognizing their own needs as a human being and their own needs in connection with their partners or their family members? Even if you want to think, do you want your children to visit you at some point when they're older? Then you have to model that your well-being is worth it. So they also recognize that your well-being is worth it.
Sure.
So we wanted to take these steps back to like recognize that, yes, you are providing like babysitting and nannying services, but these are social services that allow for us to think a moment about our own well-being and also development of other social contexts that just don't exist as much in our Western cultures. We don't have villages. And if we do, we often have to pay for them. And this is one of those things where if you want your children to be more socially integrated, you pay for the club or you pay for the sport or you pay for the activity. School's a little bit of it. And it's not just the thing that they're learning in the program. It's how they're connecting to themselves and other people and building just a sense of like human capabilities. And again, not just being another cog in the wheel.
Yeah.
So where is it that you find in your work that you're doing that this helps you feel more connected to yourself as a person and what you're providing? How does that feel fulfilling for you to know that you're providing like a service that's helping people feel more connected to themselves and their kids and their communities?
Yeah, it's like I mentioned, it's a great feeling to be able to help families find caretakers, whether it's just for date night or a full-time person. Having that success rate is amazing. And if that's the littlest thing I can do to help a family feel like they have a village, I'm pleased with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So thinking about now, like your fundamentals, what are some fundamentals that you have to share that could maybe help some families out?
Yeah, so there's a bunch, but I've narrowed it down to 3 as far as sitters and why you would, hire them from Nittany Nannies. The reliability and trust is a big one. Families need to feel comfortable with who they're leaving their child with, and the sitters need to feel valued. So I always say that clear communication is huge for the families and the sitters. The community and support. Childcare works better when it's part of a larger network, I think. So, I create the space where sitters and families can feel connected, whether that's trainings or meetups with the sitters, checking in, do a reward system with the sitters. So if they do so many shifts a month, they get a reward, or if they, have a great review, they get a reward. So communicating with the community and support is another fundamental. And then the last is the well-being for caregivers. So taking care of kids is rewarding, but as parents, we know that it's super draining as well. So the sitters need to feel that they're being appreciated and that they're prioritizing self-care themselves. Not just the parents. We kind of talked about, parents should, but sitters should as well, that they're advocating for themselves if they're getting fair pay. So yeah, those are the 3 that I think are the most important as far as, my agency goes.
Yeah. So knowing that like communication is really important. So you're supporting like your professionals in having clear and open communication and also requesting that the parents are doing the same. No one's tiptoeing over each other or people pleasing to them to the points of exhaustion. in any. So what's a quote that you'd like to share today?
Let me see. You can't pour from an empty cup. So self-care, as I mentioned, isn't selfish. It's necessary. As human beings, we need to make sure we're taking care of ourselves before we can take care of anybody else, whether you're a parent, caregiver, business owner, whatever, wherever you fall in that, you can't, give your best if you don't take care of yourself. So I think that can, be related on a lot of different across the board, but especially in, parenting and childcare, you cannot pour from an empty cup.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Sarah. This has been an awesome episode. And yeah, check out Nittany Nannies and I'll have information in the show notes.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Know Your Fundamentals podcast. I hope this episode gave you some valuable tools and helped you feel more connected to yourself and others. Get more life, family, and career fundamentals when you follow Know Your Fundamentals on social media, including Instagram and YouTube. You can also join the Fundamentals Life, Family, and Career Wellness Facebook group. There you'll get access to live trainings, helpful resources, Q&As with our guests, and professional mom community that's here to support you in thriving your way. I'm cheering you on, and I hope to hear from you soon.